We are live.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Sophie Porter. I'm a Labour councillor for Aldershot Park ward. Thank you for joining us for our online surgery. I'm going to introduce you to our my very hard-working colleagues. First of all, I'll start with our Aldershot Park councillors.
Hello, I'm Terry Bridgeman, councillor for Aldershot Park.
Morning, Terry. Our Wellington ward councillors.
I would say ladies first. There we are. I'm Alex Crawford. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm Nadia Martin, councillor for Wellington ward.
Morning. And we'll go next to Farnborough, to our Cherrywood councillors.
Go first, Christine.
Good morning. I'm Christine Guinness. I'm for Cherrywood.
Morning there. I'm Clive Grattan for Cherrywood as well.
Wonderful. And last but not least, our colleagues over in Northtown.
Good morning, I'm Keith Dibble, councillor for Northtown, and have the privilege, the rare privilege, of being leader of the Rushmoor Labour Group.
Good morning, leader.
Good morning, Councillor Porter. And how is the household this morning after the famous victory of West Ham United last night?
We're a very, very happy household. I think there's a little bit of hope in this house this morning.
With us, there's always hope, remember that.
So we've got quite an exciting meeting planned. First, we're going to kick off with the bin survey. Following lots of reports from residents about being dissatisfied with the current bin service, the Rushmoor Labour Group published a survey, and we've had some really, really good responses. Now, Alex Crawford is going to update us on this.
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much, Sophie. I have to say a big thank you to the residents of Rushmoor for their tremendous response to the survey. We launched it only 2 days ago, but in the meantime, we've had over 4,800 responses, which is tremendous. And in those responses, we've had nearly 9,000 comments about different aspects of the bins collection around Rushmoor. I can just give you some highlights, but we're going to have to produce a full report about it, and I think you, Sophie, are going to put a draft report together, and we'll then be able to put this to the council, giving the definitive view of the Rushmoor residents, I would say. So the first question was about satisfaction with the fortnightly rubbish collection, which was introduced at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, because the bin men, some of them had to go off and self-isolate and that kind of thing. So there weren't so many collections possible. So they went fortnightly on the rubbish collection. And what this has shown is that although people were happy with the way the bin men were working, 77% of people were either dissatisfied or very dissatisfied with fortnightly rubbish collections, and only 14% were very satisfied or satisfied. So it's a huge margin of dissatisfaction, really. And one factor that was constantly mentioned was that when the fortnightly collection started, it was on the basis it was temporary. And this struck a note with people. They felt it should be restored now that the absences weren't so prevalent amongst the workforce. And so 92% of them would like to see weekly rubbish collections restored. And because people were having their waste collection only fortnightly, just over half said that their green bin isn't big enough. So this showed that there would have to be a tremendous green bin replacement program if they went over to fortnightly collection permanently. Recycling was the next question, and interestingly, 2/3 of people were actually satisfied with the current range of materials for recycling. There were several other materials where more than half of people wanted to see recycled in future, and these included foil, cartons, plastics packaging, and plastics bags. So those are things that people would like to see included in recycling in the future. And just over half would like to see food waste collected weekly as a separate collection, as it is in other local councils. And given the option, 83% would like to see garden waste collected free of charge. And I think that's something that the government has in mind as a proposal. So it seems as if they'll be onto a popular proposal if they were to put that forward. So that's a brief survey, but of course there's a lot more can come out of the results, and we look forward to preparing a full report for the council to take into consideration. Okay, thank you very much. I can take any questions if there are about that.
I think Keith wants to come in.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. That's a really good update. So we plan to run this for, what, another week or so. Certainly we can keep promoting it on our social media pages. But I think it's a really good feedback of residents' views as we are today, really. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, interestingly, in terms of the response, I mean, initially there were 800 responses in the first hour. Now, you know, just 2 days later, we're only getting 5 or 6, 7 responses an hour. So it does show that there was a huge pent-up demand to let us know their views about this. But actually, we can keep it open as long as we like, and anyone who wants to, I've sent the link through to Hash. He can put it on the notes that go out with this broadcast. So anyone who wants to fill in the survey, it will remain open, and they can give their point of view, and we will be able to put all that together. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Alex. I think there's a question from Clive, and then Terry, did you want to come in as well afterwards?
You can take Terry. You can take Terry first if you wish.
Okay, Terry.
All right, thank you. Yeah, the council, of course, are intending to run their own surveys, so it'd be interesting to compare their findings with ours. I don't know what form their survey is going to take, but I can imagine certainly the satisfaction ad, the would you like to return to a weekly collection will form part of it. So that's going to be interesting when the time comes. And can I say specifically on the garden waste, well, I'm a big consumer of the garden waste one, and I must admit it is expensive, £42 a year just to join, and then £2 for every sack of recycled, and you have to recycle it in the sack provided by the council at £2 a time. It's not cheap.
Thank you, Terry. And Clive, are you going to come in and ask Alex a question?
Yes, it's well, not so much a question. It's such statement. I've checked up on the actual kitchen waste, and it's mandatory that all councils across the whole country are going to have to introduce kitchen waste. I checked up on the grants, and it seems like if we do start it earlier, we're not likely to lose our grant, because all the grants will be put out at the same time right across the country. I just don't know, and I don't know if Alex got anything on this, how long these grants will last and what sort of grant it is and the cost.
Thanks, and I think, Clive, what's going to be very interesting is when we produce our report and present it to the council. I think there's some of the conversations and discussions we'll be able to have. I think we'll get the report written, and we'll share that with residents as well. So I think, when you see that other people are feeling the same way as you, that can be quite helpful as well. So we'll get that shared with everybody as soon as we can. Thank you. Any other questions on the bin survey? No. So we're going to move.
Question, Sophie. Sorry.
Oh yes.
So a lot of people think that the bins are going to stay at 2 weekly collections still. Do you have an update on that, Alex?
Well, obviously that was one of the questions that we addressed directly, and what came out in many of the comments was, including comments, dare I say, from people who might be Conservative supporters, is that they felt strongly that if the council went back on their word that this move to fortnightly was just temporary, that they would feel betrayed, and that they would feel that they'd been lied to, that this was being used as an excuse. The extension into September of fortnightly collection, when the workers were actually all back at work, that this was being used as an excuse to save money, and that they would be betrayed if the weekly collection is not restored.
Yeah, as things stand, we're meant to be going back to weekly in September, but I hope that's the case.
That's the current position, is that that's the indication, but it's subject to the results of the council's own survey that Terry mentioned.
Keith, did you want to come in and ask Alex a question?
Well, no, I don't want to ask Councillor Crawford a question, because it's really a comment from myself. I think much of the frustration of local residents has been the complete lack of updates from Rushmoor. Now, we as an opposition have been asking for regular updates, statements on the status of the bin collection. Councillor Martin asked a question at the last full council meeting, which really didn't get an answer. And then she put that in writing. And I, when I've been attending in the informal cabinet, have been saying, can they please make a statement? Because residents just don't know. And this week, in the Leader of the Council's State of the Borough email, there was a reference to bin collection, saying it will be reviewed in September, I think. But I think it's a failing of the corporate body and the political leadership that they haven't kept residents updated. I think the frustration of not knowing and always being told, well, we don't know, has led to that build-up of frustration from many of our residents. And I think it's really only us as the opposition that have been prodding and demanding an update. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you very much, Keith. And I think it's we're going to be having some interesting conversations over the next, the next few weeks. So we're going to move on.
Sorry,
yeah.
So can I just come in?
Of course you can.
The prospect was held out that because it would effectively be by September 6 months that we would have been on fortnightly waste collection, that there would be some kind of rebate from Serco for that. But the problem is, as I see it, is that all the workforce of Serco are now fully back at work. So where are Serco going to get the money for the rebate when the request to do fortnightly collections was agreed by Rushmoor and seems to be at Rushmoor's behest? So whilst it may be a subject of commercial negotiation between Rushmoor and Serco as to whether there should be any kind of rebate, I don't see where the scope for rebate is, while the current workforce for Serco is back at work.
Thank you, and potentially that's a question for Clive to raise with the council with his role as shadow portfolio holder.
Sophie, can I ask a question?
Of course you can, Halleh.
Yes, hi. Hi, Alex. When do you think we can have the result of the survey to share with the people, well, to share with on the Facebook pages and share it with people?
The issue is that I think Sophie would like to write a report about it, but I mean, we could put the graphs showing the numerical results up. But if you're going to include selections of the 9,000 comments that we've got on different topics to highlight, which would have to be in a more detailed report, that I don't think we could do that readily until Sophie's prepared her draft report, really. But I mean, it's I'm quite happy to post the what you might call the provisional results of the survey on Facebook. I could do that later today. But,
I think that would be really good, because people who have been taking part like to know what was the outcome of it. And even if there's a graph, I think that would be fantastic. Thank you. If everybody else agree.
Just ask can I just ask if Sophie's got a view about that, since she's going to be.
Yes.
I think it's a really super idea. I think it shows people currently what the thought process is, and if you're happy, if we can just use the results that we have now, I'm happy to start drafting a report, and we can just make adaptations when we decide to close the whole survey.
Yeah, okay, we'll go ahead like that then. Thanks.
Super. Well, we're going to move on then to masks. So the government has brought in new guidance and recommendations and advice about how we should and when we should be wearing masks. Councillor Nadia Martin is going to update us on these changes.
Yes, thank you. So from this Friday, the 24th of July, masks will be mandatory in shops. Certain people are exempt from wearing masks, such as children under the age of 11. If putting on, removing or wearing a mask causes severe distress. If you're travelling or providing assistance to someone who relies on lip reading for communication, or if you can't wear a mask because of physical or mental illness or impairment, disabilities. Or if you need to take medication, you can remove the mask temporarily. So that's the guidance for now.
Thank you, Nadia. So what I see that the guidance suggests that if you're in restaurants, you don't need to be wearing a mask. What do you think about that?
No, you don't, and you need to eat and drink, don't you?
Exactly.
So I hope social distancing will be in place in the restaurants for people that are going to eat. But retail staff don't have to wear masks either, even though there was a huge percentage of deaths in retail staff. Sorry.
Terry, did you want to make a comment about that?
Yeah, can I mean, there's still an awful lot of confusion, isn't there? And the government doesn't make it any easier with mixed messages and very confused messages. I did see a very good illustration on Facebook the other day as to the situation with masks. It was two naked men, and one was peeing on the other. And the comment was, if he does that, then you're going to get wet. And then the next picture, one man was wearing a pair of trousers. And they said, well, you're not going to get very wet there, maybe just a bit. And then the third one, they were both wearing a pair of trousers. And they said, you're not going to get wet at all. I said, are you? And the analogy is, like, cover up. There's all sorts of reasons why, but the best reason, of course, is not because you're protecting yourself, but because you're protecting others. And there's no good saying, oh, I haven't got it. Well, you don't know if you've got it. Hey, you're a nurse, you know very well it lays dormant and the symptoms aren't immediately visible. I think we all owe it to each other to make sure we take every precaution possible. And I don't think the government are giving us a very good lead on this. There we go.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people are coming out of isolation as well for the first time, and they're a bit worried. So we should look after them and make them feel as safe as possible by wearing a mask.
I mean, I agree. Has anybody else got any comments about masks? Clive, do you want to come in first?
Thank you, Sophie. It's just a question for Nadia. Has she had any reports about what is retail? I mean, I've been looking around, and do garages in the shops that most garages have now, are they classed as retail or not?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I thought it was every supermarket, every clothing stores, everywhere where you can exchange money for goods.
I think, Clive, there lies that some of the issue, is that some of the advice isn't clear, and people aren't certain when they should or shouldn't be wearing masks. Now, I'm just going to ask, Cash, you did have your hand up. Did you want to come in on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor.
And then we'll take Keith.
What are the rules? Because I don't know. I just don't. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. But if you're in a cafe, it's fine. But if you're not in a cafe, don't wear a mask. Or wear it. I don't know what it is.
Keith, did you want to come in first?
Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, as someone, and again, sorry to keep dwelling on this point, as someone who professionally deals with multiple countries across Europe, the UK is seen as the laughing stock of Europe with our policy on COVID. Other countries laugh at us because of indecision, of what's right at 9 in the morning is wrong at 10 in the morning, but is right again at 11. With how are the general public supposed to know what to do if the leadership of the country is so vague and continually changing? When the medical experts, we're told the government are making decisions on science, but when they come to make decisions or press events, when they want to make a decision about masks, you suddenly find that the medical experts aren't there to back them up. So I think it's complete chaos, and retailers won't know, shoppers won't know. It's really just poor leadership from the top, and it's fair to say, picking up on Hash's question, no one really knows. Is a petrol station retail? We don't know. Is a plant shop in a farm centre retail? We don't know. So until there is real guidelines that are easily understood, it will be chaos, and the risk of further spread of the virus will be very high still. That's an individual view of the leader of the Labour group, I must add.
Well, I think they're very wise words, and I think there is a lot of confusion out there. Even myself, I don't know, but I carry one in my bag and carry one. I have a separate one in my car so that if I do need it, I have it, that it's easy reach to get for me. Has anybody else got any questions or any comments to make about masks? Alex Crawford. Alex Crawford?
Yes, thanks, Sophie. Yeah, I mean, for example, yesterday I went into Boots and went in there, and so I'm wearing a mask. None of the staff are wearing masks. They're wandering up and down the aisles. I mean, it's extraordinary. They're the ones that are most frequently at risk because they're faced with a constant stream of members of the public coming in, and yet they're not covered up, and that seems a bit of an anomaly. I would rather follow the advice of the World Health Organization, and which is to wear masks everywhere you are when you go out. I mean, that's the issue, and we had the confusion this week of various government ministers going to the local sandwich shop, sometimes with masks, sometimes not, and the whole impression seemed to be it was really up to you whether a sandwich shop was considered somewhere to wear a mask or not, and so on. It just seems to me ridiculous. I would just say, slipping in a COVID-19 report here, that the infection rate in Rushmoor is absolutely minimal now. There's only been one case of infection on average each week for the past 4 weeks, and you know, it's so your chances out in the community of seemingly at the moment of actually catching an infection from one of the 96,500 people in Rushmoor seems to be minimal. But on the other hand, you know, it just, we can't afford to take any risks. So I would say carry on with the precautions, and certainly whenever you're in a confined space, wear a mask, and that's what I'm doing anyway.
Thank you, Alex. I think Gaynor wanted to say something as well.
Yes, thanks, Sophie. I mean, I think rather like Alex was saying, the World Health Organization advice is definitely what I would be following. Now, it's because the coronavirus transmission is known to be higher, or suspected to be higher, in poorly ventilated indoor spaces, or any indoor spaces really, but with poor ventilation obviously makes it worse. So looking at the government website, so anyone can go on there if they're not sure and check the advice. So the website is gov.uk. Really, we should be wearing masks indoors, in any indoor situation, I think, including on public transport. One of the reasons you can remove the mask is to eat or drink when necessary. So I personally would be wearing it in a restaurant or cafe until you need to remove it to eat or drink. So I think it is very clear. I mean, also the World Health Organization recommend that the masks that the covering that you wear is ideally three layers to be effective. So the outside layer being water resistant and the inner layer being absorbent. I know that the government is allowing any face coverings such as scarves or bandanas, but if you want something that's going to be effective, really need to be looking to something a bit better than that, although they're recommending not to use health grade masks, which they want to make sure that enough are available for key workers. I have, like I think you have, Sophie, and a number of other people, a well-made layered cotton mask that can be washed in the ordinary wash with detergent that will kill the virus. You can also iron it afterwards at a higher temperature to kill off anything on there. And you do need to be keeping them dry as well as clean. So if they will naturally get moist with breathing. So if you're going out for a long time, have a spare mask with you as well. But yeah, anything you're not sure about, have a look on the gov.uk website.
Thank you very much, Gaynor. I mean, what are your thoughts about the government saying that they're going to fine people if they don't have a face covering?
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Sophie.
What are you saying that they may fine people if they're not wearing a face mask?
Yes, apparently £100 fine, reduced to £50 if you pay within 14 days. The difficulty is that although shops have been told that workers can call the police in certain situations to report if someone's refusing to wear a face covering, the police have actually said that, you know, that they're so stretched that they can't go to every incident of somebody in a shop not wearing a face covering. Also, I think they're going along the lines of wanting to educate people, really, rather than fine them. You know, you have to really explain to people why it's important, how they're protecting others. You know, it could be on their grandparents, their parents, that they're putting at risk. So I think really think about why you're doing it. Think about, you know, we want to keep, as Alex said, the infection rate locally is low at the moment. We want to keep it that way.
I agree, and I think Keith wants to come in and make a point. Thank you, Gaynor.
Well, I mean, we as councillors and many of our residents are incredibly frustrated that when there are serious incidents of alleged drug dealing, burglaries, that the police do not have the resources to respond as a result of 10 years of continual government cuts to the very important public services such as the police. So where the police have got these numbers to swoop on a cafe or a retail petrol station or into Tesco's or Morrison's to sweep up a person that hasn't worn a mask. It's not going to happen, is it? Unless they're going to operate in a way that the town centre litter enforcement team do, and have a policeman outside of Tesco's waiting for someone to walk in and then pick an easy target. It's not going to happen. And I think it puts a huge responsibility on the retail workforce and management for them to have to undertake the policing of government regulations. It would be much easier if the government had just said on the 1st of May or 1st of June, 100% wearing of masks when you leave home. By just saying it for retail makes it incredibly difficult and puts a huge burden of responsibility on the retailer. And I think that's grossly unfair. Thank you, Sophie.
I mean, I fully agree with you. I know Christine wants to come in and say something.
Yeah, so I just really need people to be aware. I mean, you know, I've got a ton of masks in my car, and, you know, I've been shopping. I've put the mask on before I get out of the car. I've walked round the town, done my shopping, got back in the car, taken it off, you know. And as you know, I've got children. Maisie is exempt because until they're age 11, they're not expected to wear it. Although Maisie does actually pop, you know, occasionally a mask on. But my 15-year-old, she has autism, and there is no way she is going to wear a mask. It just would be so uncomfortable, irritable, and she just wouldn't be able to cope with it. Now, obviously, you know, to look at Peggy, you wouldn't know that she has autism. You wouldn't know she has any disabilities. And I think, you know, people need to be really careful in town that they don't start turning on people and saying, you have to wear a mask. You know, she doesn't carry a badge that says, I'm autistic. And, you know, she would, you know, if someone starts shouting at her saying you should have a mask on, it would absolutely petrify her. And I think, you know, although, you know, we're saying to people, yes, you should wear a mask. And, you know, myself, I've been wearing a mask when I've been out shopping for weeks now. But we do need to think before we start sort of saying to other people, you know, have they got reasons that they're not wearing them?
And I think, have you seen some of the cutout cards that you can get for people to carry around?
I have, but Peggy also has dyspraxia, which means she loses everything. You know, she doesn't take a purse out with her because she would lose it within minutes. You know, she's not that way.
Do you think she'd benefit maybe from getting some stickers printed or something?
She wouldn't wear them.
She wouldn't.
It would annoy her.
I suppose and then it's identifying for her.
Absolutely, that is the trouble, and it is so hard. You know, she wouldn't. You know, if she goes into a new school and they said, right, you've all got to put a name badge on, she would, you know, within a minute she would pull it off and get rid of it. It is such, you know, a difficult scenario. You know, she doesn't wear necklaces. She couldn't put something round her neck with a badge hanging on it because it would irritate her. And, you know, so it's finding that medium that, you know, if shop staff are going to stop people and say, you need to be wearing a mask, that they do listen. You know, if she says, no, I can't do that.
Thank you, Christine, for that really insightful comment. I know that Halleh wants to come in and say something as well on this subject.
Yes, is following up what Keith has been saying as well, that I've got family and friends who are in Italy, Greece, and Spain, and my son has been traveling all over Italy and now going to Greece, and they're over there. It's very clear. The message is you go to the shop, you have to wear your mask. Doesn't matter what shop it is. Yes, of course, if you're eating, you remove your mask. but it's very clear and it's very strict. So they were actually, if your mask is not quite covering your mouth or your nose, they will tell you and will not allow you to go into the shop. So it's very clear, and everybody knows, and everybody following it. And this having the vague messages, it leaves it into the state that you don't know exactly what you're doing, and then what happens is you end up not doing it. So just saying, following up on what Keith was saying, across the Europe, the message is a lot more clear than it is in UK.
Thank you very much, Halleh. Nadia?
Yeah, I was going to come in when Christine was saying about the about people who suffer from autism. My son has autism as well, and he has a card. You can get them on autismhampshire.org.uk. And my son has also lost his wallet because he's prone to losing things as well. But what I think they will allow is if the police do stop you and you do have autism and you have a diagnosis letter, maybe they'll give you time to pop it into the police station or just carry it with you just in case, as a parent, not the children. But if you can hand it into the police station within 2 weeks or so, then I think that should be fine. But it's not clear again. So.
Thank you, Nadia. I think Terry, we'll have Terry followed by Clive.
Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, the question of enforcement is a big one, and it's a problematic area. I mean, you mentioned the cards that people can get. Well, the unfortunate thing about that is anybody can print a card, whether they're genuine or not. And I think people tend to be a little bit wary of them. But the enforcement thing, well, Keith mentioned probably 2 or 3 weeks ago about watching a bus driver allow people on without masks because who was he to intervene? And a couple of weeks ago in France, we had a man actually killed, a bus driver killed because he refused to let 2 men on. Enforcement is a big problem. The police haven't got the resources to cover the whole town centre and everywhere where there's likely to be the need to wear masks. And the public, of course, they could get very argumentative. Too many people think that it's an imposition having to wear a mask and refuse to do so. And why should the stores, why should somebody at a shop be responsible for confronting somebody? Okay, they can refuse them entry, but if it turns nasty, they're the ones that are going to be on the receiving end of it. So it's very difficult, and we really all have to play our own part, lead by example, challenge people when we see them breaking the rules, but don't get too involved because it's a dangerous road to go down.
Quite wise words there, Terry. Clive?
Thank you, Sophie. Just to point out that the head of the Police Federation said on the news report the other day that it was virtually impossible for them to do enforcement because the restrictions, as Keith has said before, about the restrictions on their staffing levels and such like. So it's down to everyday residents who actually, as Terry has just said, to indicate to people that you're not following the rules, and but to take care while you're doing it. And my next thing was to Alec and his role as a vine person. I pointed that out to you as a role vine person, Alec. Are they still selling face masks, and can you indicate in how people can actually pick them up and where they pick them up from? Thank you, Sophie.
Yeah, sure. The Vine Centre is selling face masks, and they're £5 a time, and so they're available on a website. It's called Masks for the Vine. And you get on a Facebook group, Masks for the Vine. So if anyone wants to order a mask for there, they're £5 a time. They're made by volunteers, but the idea is that the funds that's raised goes to the charity. And so far they've raised just nearly £3,000 on that basis. And these are masks that allow you, they're cotton masks, but they allow you to put in a protective pad behind the front layer. And I always carry mine with me so that when I go into the shop, I can put it on. And this is how it looks on one side, and it's two-sided, so I can give you an alternative view. That's it. But there we are. It is available, but you can get them, I guess, much cheaper at Boots or in supermarkets. But it's just that it's seen as a contribution towards charity, and they're good quality, home produced by volunteers.
I have one myself, Alex, that I wear with pride. Last comment now on masks that's coming. Yeah. Oh, you want one more? Yeah. And then Keith's coming in.
I missed something what Alex said. How do the people actually pick them up? I missed that part.
Yeah, sure. The normal way is for people to pay by PayPal, and then the masks are available, and they can come and pick it up from the address they're given when they pay. It's in Aldershot, so they're expected to come and pick it up. I guess they can be posted out, but of course, posting it out is at the risk of the person who's ordered it. If they don't want to come and pick it up, it can be posted.
Thank you, Alex. Perhaps Hash could put a link to the Facebook group on this thread. That might be helpful. Keith, last comment on masks, please.
It will be a last comment. I mean, we've spent a very useful 20-25 minutes talking about masks, and it's about something that actually today isn't compulsory. We can all go where we like without a mask. But actually, when we wake up, I think on Friday the 24th, it is compulsory. So why is it fine for us to go and mix with all these places for the next 6 days without having to wear masks, but a day plucked from the air, Friday the 24th, suddenly becomes compulsory? Utter and complete madness. So actually, we don't have to talk about masks today because we don't have to wear them for a week. But when we wake up on Friday, we've all got to go scratching around to find these masks. Absolutely ludicrous. That's all I will say. Final word.
And I'll echo that final word. I think it shows that we need some real strong leadership in our government, and I feel that some of that is lacking, especially on this mask debate. Now, it's been a really good debate, but I'm going to move on. Each of our ward councillors, we work very, very hard for all of our residents all year round, not just at election time. And what we're going to do is we're going to individually update you about what we've been up to this week and what the kind of projects we've been running. So first, we're going to go to Northtown. Can you update us on what you've been up to?
Okay, do you want to go first?
Right, sorry, just switching those back on again. They're very slow. Usual things in Northtown, really. I think it's been a lot of reporting of potholes and overhanging trees. I think we've suddenly had greenery has had a bit of a growth spurt. So I'm just encouraging people to report those. Have you spoken about that yet, Keith, or did I miss that? Or
not yet. No.
We're going to. So yes. Other than that, I think we're all good in Northtown.
I think just add one thing really, which is the continuing complaints that Gaynor's made a couple of visits about is the smell coming from one of the industrial units on Spring Lake's industrial estate off Dedbrook Lane, where depending on which way the wind is blowing, some residents notice quite a strong smell in the air where others don't. But we're encouraging people to contact environmental health whenever they notice it, and that it's like one of those things. Someone's raised it on social media, and all of a sudden lots of people are complaining, whereas environmental health prior to that thought it was just one or two people. So that's quite an issue. But we do have our street surgery at 11 o'clock this morning, where Gaynor and I will be outside the Northtown base. Last week we kicked it off and 90 minutes later we were still there. So that is open this morning, 11 till 12.
Thank you very much, Keith and Gaynor. Wellington Ward.
Hello. Yeah, so we have in the town centre, there's now widened footpaths on Victoria Road and Station Road to ensure social distancing is kept when walking in town. I think more areas are going to be like that. They're working on it. Apart from that, just trees, overhanging trees and bushes near the Mike Jackson house have been reported. That's it really. That's all I've got anyway.
Yeah, sure. In terms of, we don't seem to have many complaints from residents or issues being raised by residents. So it's more our own observations that seem to we take up with the council and so on. One of the things I have noticed, I was out yesterday, as I mentioned, going down to Boots and so on. The town centre just still seems very, very sort of empty, and I mean it's almost devoid of people actually using it for shopping. And you know, I don't know how they're going to get back from this, particularly when we now have the planning applications gone in for the galleries. And of course, if that starts and they start demolishing all of that part of Aldershot Town Centre, and then we've got the demolition work going on in Union Street, it's going to be like one big building site altogether. And it's going to be very, very difficult to see how they're going to maintain Aldershot as a shopping centre during that time.
Can I just come back? Hash just asked about the stickers. Do you mean in the shops or in the town centre?
There was like, the town was covered in like hundreds of stickers when lockdown ended. And then suddenly, like 3 or 4 days later, it seemed to be, they were all gone. What happened? Is that right? I don't know what happened. Why did it go from like sticker town to nothing? I mean, what happened?
Well, the stickers, they weren't very good. They kept peeling off, and then they would have been a trip hazard for people. So what they've done is they've used paint to create markings instead.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Who got the contract for the stickers? Because that was a good job. That was.
So that was good. And did you see the little activities that you could do if you were queuing? You have to scan your camera over some of them, and I told you about local.
Oh God, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem was, picking up Alex's point, there were very few queues.
That's true. It was a little bit absurd.
I mean, there was a huge effort to. Yeah, but I mean, the people weren't coming into town. That's not a sarcastic or cheap comment. It just never happened, did it?
No, there were more town centre ambassadors than there were people in the town centre doing stuff. So that was unfortunate.
And in a sense, that moves on to town centre regeneration and why that needs to be driven forward. But but having said that, we went to Guildford a couple of weekends ago, and for Guildford, whilst there were more people than there were in Aldershot, it was still very, very quiet. And it was only really the big brand name stores where you had to queue, Boots and Smiths, that type of thing, where others, where you could just walk straight in if one was inclined to.
I think it's a very interesting topic and a conversation we should probably have on another day. I think it's, as Alex was saying, it's highlighted that there weren't many queues, so people are not using Aldershot Town Centre. Thank you very much for your update. Cherrywood, have you got an update for us?
So our main thing was obviously fly tipping, as always. which we're still managing to keep on top of. Really looking forward to the COVID thing being over, though, because we did have a plan of action with the council to actually work with our residents on the fly tipping, but unfortunately it involves we've got to knock on all the doors, give them letters and go through a procedure before we can start. So of course, until the council are back up and running on that, we can't move forward with it. The only other thing is obviously our new fantastic park. We have had quite a few comments in different directions on that this week. So although generally most people are absolutely loving it, the children are loving it, it's fantastic to watch. There have been comments about bins. Well, just to say we are having more bins put in, and they should be coming along soon. And we've had some comments about the car park, because we're having a new car park built, which will have 47 spaces. So there's been some comments, concerns about the younger generation of drivers going in and maybe doing donuts around the car park. But just to actually reassure, the new car park surface is going to be using product called grasscrete and not tarmac. So it's not only more environmentally friendly, but it's also design and material acts as a neutral deterrent to vehicle antisocial behaviour.
That sounds very interesting. Clive, have you got anything to add to what Christine has said?
Christine said most of it. We've got the normal situation that you had around the area, as Christine said. Overhanging trees. I've been walking around the area. We've got our 12 benches that are up and running, finished from the Pebble project. And with the extra growth, I've actually been trimming the trees around the benches so people can sit on them, because the growth is actually hanging over the top. And it's been a very good response from the actually playground. The parents are self-policing it, which is great. We do have extra patrols going out there at night, and it's been a very worthwhile, and it's very good to see that children don't actually want to go home. They want to use it all the time. And that's been one of the hardest things, because it's very well used in the gym equipment, and it's a great project.
Well, from the pictures I've seen, it looks like the Cherrywood councillors don't want to go home from there. You've been using that gym equipment well. Thank you very much. Terry, have you got anything that you want to...
Yeah, just before, I'll leave that street thing to you, Sophie, but just in on rubbish in general, it's manifesting itself in many ways, partly because of the restricted bin service, but as we have reports of not so much fly tipping as people just accumulating rubbish in the flats in Tyson's Meadow. We've had this complaint from about my brother's next door neighbour. Actually, you've got so much rubbish in their garden that they're now infested with rats. You'll deal, as I said, with the problem in Herrick Street. And it's getting bad. People just fly tipping, general disregard for the rules. In fact, I don't know if any of you have seen it, but somebody's actually abandoned a refrigerator in Victoria Road in Aldershot. Just left it on the pavement in Victoria Road. It's ridiculous. Anyway, over to you.
I had seen that. I was wondering if Boris Johnson was hiding in there. But I heard he wasn't. Maybe that's where Leo's been all these few months. Aldershot Park, we've been two of the main things. Yesterday we were out with the police in looking at some of the issues that have been going on in Herrick Street alleyways. I think it was a real great example of joined up working. We had some members from the council, police, community policing teams, and residents, and obviously the Aldershot Park Ward councillors, so that we could walk up and down and look at what we could do and what was smart, achievable goals to try and reduce antisocial behaviour. The residents are feeling really positive about the actions from and the support from the council and the police, so we'll be able to update everybody as that goes on. One of our other main targets is the road surfacing of Ash Road. we've been working with Hampshire County Council to try and get a new road surface. Now, residents who live along Ash Road say that 6 years ago there was work done to replace some of the old Victorian pipes, and since then, when heavy vehicles heavy HGVs drive past, or buses, that can cause some shaking and vibrations in their house. So we've had it confirmed from Hampshire County Council that they're going to be resurfacing parts of Ash Road, but due to previous works, they can't do a certain patch. So we're working with them to try and increase the profile of that. And again, we'll just keep residents updated. But it's really important, and what we're asking residents to do is to send us emails or videos and pictures of the issues that they're having inside their house, so that we can escalate those and share them on. Right, I think that's our ward updates done. As you can hear, we're hardworking all year round, and we're going to have a COVID update from Alex Crawford.
Hi. That's a total surprise to me about the COVID update. I thought I'd given it already, which was about the infection rate being so low in Rushmoor. That we've only had on average one case a week for the last 4 weeks. In terms of the death rate in Rushmoor, that is also going down and down. So in the most recent week, which was reported, there was only one death in hospital. And I heard yesterday on good authority that there are no actual cases of COVID in Frimley Park Hospital at the moment. So it does seem our local situation is quite positive from the, perhaps I should rephrase that, is relatively resolved at the moment in terms of the absence of, relative absence locally of COVID-19 infection. The other aspect that I would normally report on the Vine Centre, they have, this week they've produced a ward breakdown of the, I think it's, let me see, 30,000 pieces of help they've given during COVID, and they have that as a breakdown ward by ward through Rushmoor, and believe it or not, they extend into Surrey. Because there's no services in the immediate part of Surrey that do what they do, so they've had to help out there. But it will come no surprise to the residents of Cherrywood ward that very high demand from Cherrywood ward for the services of the Vine Centre, as there is in Aldershot Park and Northtown and Wellington ward. But when I've got the full breakdown, I'll provide that, and then you'll be able to see how bad or how frequent the problems are in your own particular wards. But it has been, in a sense, the greatest demand has been associated with where there is the greatest deprivation in Rushmoor.
Thank you, Alex. And it would be really helpful if you could pass them on to the council, because I know that they're currently looking at what the RVS has done. Now, I'm going to move swiftly on, just because I know that Keith needs to leave us in 5 minutes, and he's going to update us on how to report overhanging trees and potholes. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you, Sophie, and thank you for picking up my notes. We've got to head off because we've got our surgery at 11 this morning. So, yeah, over the past month, I guess, since some of the lockdown's been easing, we've certainly in Northtown picking up more and more comments from residents and feedback from residents on the amount of potholes and litter dropped on the streets, but also overhanging trees. And people don't realise that you can report any, whether they be trees or hedges, that are causing problems for pedestrians, forcing them into the road, that you can report via the Hampshire County Council online tracker system, reporting system. And then the county do contact the business or the occupier of that particular house or flat or whatever, or apartment, and give them X amount of days to make it safe. But certainly either from residents or via Gaynor and myself doing our daily walks around the ward in which we live and represent, we're picking up more and more of that. But I mean, for litter, you can use the Love Rushmoor app, where you just take a photograph or report it, and Rushmoor will send a team out to clear that up. But the pothole reporting or the overhanging trees and bushes is via the Hampshire online reporting system, which gives you an immediate reference number that you can chase. And for example, I'll use one small incident. About 3 weeks ago, it was flagged up. There was a pothole in the pavement in Bellevue Road. Someone sent a photograph. Gaynor and I reported it. A week later, we had a report back from county saying they couldn't find the pothole. So I sent the photograph again. They reported back that it wasn't dangerous. So I took another photograph and sent it. And yesterday they came and repaired it, and we had a letter of thanks from a resident. So just to say that, you know, if residents are out walking and they come across these obstacles, they can either report it themselves by the I Love Rushmoor app, or going online to Hampshire County Council, or if they're a bit worried or don't want to do it themselves, come to us as ward councillors for all our wards, and we will do it for them. And never one to praise Hampshire too much, but I find their tracking system actually works very well. You can follow a fault through until conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. And I don't know if you've seen, but there's also, they've got a new app or area to log things on called the Hants COVID travel map. And if you're worried about narrow pathways that need extending, if you can't socially distance, if bushes are in the way, you can report these issues on that Hampshire map. And then, you know, obviously they respond as they do with regards to the potholes. So I'll ask Hash to post that. I know Alex wants to come in and make a comment as well.
Yeah, sure. My comment is picking up on what Keith said about the difficulties of when you've made a report. Now, Hampshire's system seems to me unduly unwieldy, whereby they send someone out to look at the report, who then puts a white line round it or white markers by it, if they think it's justified, and if they don't, nothing happens. And so you're then in the position, as Keith was, you have to follow up a report. And it seems to me that it would be much simpler if they simply sent the people out to all of these complaints, and they did the work then, or not, as the case may be. But I've had cases of where potholes that seem to be picked up in one place, bigger potholes elsewhere aren't, and I get the answer back, oh, that wasn't big enough. And so it depends on the person who's making the judgment, getting the judgment right, and also it being followed through effectively, because it's a two-part system. And it wasn't until stage 3 that Keith got his pothole actually tackled properly. And it seems to me Hampshire needs to streamline their system.
When you're in Winchester representing us, Alex, you can be raising those points.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. I think it's quite important and something we'll look at outside of this, but I'm going to move on just because our North Town councillors need to get to their weekly surgery.
Can I say thank you, Councillor Porter? You've done an excellent job in the chat.
Thank you very much. So we've got Gaynor's going to talk about vivid repairs, and then we'll move on to the ward grant schemes, and we'll let the other two go.
Right, thanks, Sophie. Yes, we have been hearing that a lot of vivid tenants have been given very long waiting times for repairs, or repairs, you know, not getting them done when they should be done, or they've had people coming out not having the right parts and having to go away again, lots of frustration. And I know part of that has been because of lockdown, and they've had a number of staff off for various reasons, and that's staff furloughed as well. So, but Vivid are telling us that they're getting the service back online and that things should be back to normal. But for those who have issues that need chasing, need following up, or need urgent action, we will be holding a virtual repairs surgery with a representative from Vivid, and that will be the first one we're holding will be North Town and Aldershot Park combined. So if you have anything like that, if you would like to email either myself, gaynor.austin@rushmoor.gov.uk, or for Aldershot Park, it'd be sophie.porter@rushmoor.gov.uk. Let us know about the problem, and we will have a virtual surgery on Friday the 24th on Zoom between 1 and 3. If you'd let us know, we can give you a time so that you're not waiting around for 2 hours to come on and speak with ourselves and with Vivid to hopefully get that speeded up and get these repairs actually done to our satisfaction.
Thank you very, very much, Gaynor, for that. We'll put that out as well on our Here For pages, and we'll let you, we'll allow for you and Keith to go and enjoy your surgery.
Thank you. If I could just add, actually, just before I go, just been given these, which is again something in your ward, Sophie. The White Lion. So we have some posters of various sizes. So I was just going to do a little reminder that the White Lion, who are putting in a bid for to keep the pub open as a community pub and community hub. Very important that we don't lose these places. That if you want to find out more, it's www.whitelionaldershot.co.uk, and you can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. So please do get involved. And thanks, Sophie.
Very good plug. Thank you very much. Well, we're coming to the end of our online surgery, and it's the last piece we're going to talk about is the ward grant scheme. I think Clive is going to update us on this.
Yes, thank you, Sophie. The Councillors' Ward Grant Scheme is carrying on as normal. The Labour group has been fighting very hard to have this increase, and we've now managed to, over consultation with the leaders of the council and such like, to increase it to 3,000 per ward. It's done on a project sort of basis where people can apply for a grant through your councillor, and there's a form to fill out, and it's basically done towards groups like scouts groups, local charity groups, and people locally within your area that it can help within your ward. And so if you need any help and support from any Girl Guides, Scouts, or any sort of organisation that does charity work or support our local youth, apply for the grant through your councillors and you'll be sent a form to fill out.
Thank you, Clive. Has anybody got any comments about that? Anyone want to come in? No, I agree. I think we've helped some really good local communities, especially within our ward and different projects. So in previous years, so it's good that we've got that little bit extra to make more of an impact. Now,
Sophie,
yeah.
You made the important word there, projects.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that these grants are for one-off pump climbing exercises for specific projects. They're not meant for revenue support, for running costs and whatever. But it's useful, and we wish we could give more. But we are restricted into what we can give them for.
Super.
That's quite correct, yeah.
Thank you. Alex is going to come in.
Yeah, sure. On the ward grants, we're in the position where we have 2 Labour councillors and 1 Conservative councillor in Wellington ward, which means that the way things have worked out, that this year the 2 Labour councillors have only, I think it's something like £1,300 left of their ward grants to give out. But so it would be a good idea if anyone who has a suitable project that they would like to be funded, if they were to contact either Nadia Martin or myself about what they would like to do. The grant scheme runs through until next April, but the sooner an application goes in, the better, because it takes the council about a month to assess an application before reaching a decision.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Hello.
Oh, Terry's on the phone. We might hear his conversation. Ash, are you okay just to mute Terry?
Yep.
Be helpful. Thank you very much. I think we've had a really good discussion today, and it's brought up some really good ideas and some actions that we're going to take forward. Has anybody got any comments that they would like to make, or anything that they would like to bring up? Oh, Chris, would you like to come in?
Yeah, thank you. It's just a quickie, and it's Hampshire again. I've been on at Hampshire highways about dangerous driving in my very own streets, because I don't know if you know this side of town. Streets very narrow. We've got two schools very close. We've got the corner shop, the chip shop, the pub. At least our fair share of elderly people and so on. People drive far too fast. I've been on at Hampshire for traffic calming. Basically, they're saying they can't do anything because no one's been killed yet. I mean, they put it a bit more subtly than that, but sadly, that's the message.
Thank you, Chris. I think that's something we can definitely take up for you to see if we can work with Hampshire to get a better solution for you. I know that, I mean, I've had the same issues along Ash Road, and if there haven't been fatal accidents, and they don't see that there's a safety issue. But I think when you live it, you breathe it, you see that you identify the risk, don't you? You see the risk, and it would be awful for something to happen. So we'll happily take that up for you. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, thank you. I'll forward you the correspondence.
Super. Has anybody else got any comments? Would anybody else like to come in? I think that's it then. So
just one thing, Sophie.
Oh yeah, Clive.
It's a quick one. It's just that which Gaynor is still here, because the Western Caribbean organisation in North Cam are looking to put something on in late August as an event, and she would know more about that because she's more involved with that. Just keep an eye out on the Northtown Matters page and such like for the event that's we're coming up shortly.
Thank you very much, Clive. Well, I think that that brings our surgery to a close. If no one else has anything else to say, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sure if, like me, you've got lots of casework to catch up on this this weekend, and I've got a report to write. So so I'm going to be very busy this weekend. Thank you ever so much, everybody. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye.
day.